I was thinking about people's understanding of when something is about to go wrong. I was leaving a tunnel once, and then it came a heavy wind blow from the right side of the car, and I pulled the steering wheel to hold the car, and it scared me, and I did something really bad. But I wonder, do we see things like this coming? That people will wrongfully interact with a perfectly safe car? I mean, it's a little about the education, but will we see a lot of issues with that?
I don't know that they'll interact wrong with it. We expect them to supervise it. So there are times in these first generation systems where as the system is going, if it's not doing something you expected, we expect you to intervene with it, and we design it in there. So hopefully you won't react abruptly, because you're right, bad things happen when you react abruptly. But the fact of continuous monitoring, that's one of the things that we require of our drivers at this point.
So you mentioned continuous monitoring. You've got let's talk about this cruise control. You've got a cruise control that can brake and accelerate and steer. So it really can do all of the things that you need to do, and you can let go of the wheel and you don't have to put your foot on the brake or the gas, and it'll do it itself. But there's still you're still expecting this continuous monitoring. So is there some sort of a check? Are you looking for, well, people have their hands on the wheels, or are you checking eyes, or what are we going to do with systems? I guess when we really, especially these early ones, they're not fully autonomous. Right? They could be fully autonomous, or they could work fully autonomously, but we're still expecting that driver is there and he's actually paying attention and will override if he feels necessary. So is there any mechanism to check for that, or how are you mitigating that he might not be there or she might not be there?
On this, the best I can say is yes, there are mechanisms, and we have invoked them, but I can't share what they are. But yes, we will make sure that the driver is monitoring the system in order for this system to continue operations. You're right, there are multiple ways you can do that, but we know that people will tend to abuse the system and then want to take advantage of the liability laws to say, well, it's your fault. So we are putting in things in place to make sure that the driver is monitoring the system as they should be, and ultimately they're the one, you're right, they're in the car, they're the one that's going to suffer the bad consequence. So we're trying to encourage them to do the right thing in these preliminary stages, as all of this technology develops further, because I don't think we're anywhere near, it's years before the autonomous level. You say we're really like a level 4, get in the car in your garage, put in your address, go to sleep in the back seat, and the next thing I know, I'm at work. That's years off from where we're at now. But convenience feature where you can get on the freeway on your vacation and you start the system and go from here to Florida on an interstate, something like that is highly likely in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts from the audience here?
So there is a lot of talk about potential of litigation and how the users will take to these new systems. I was wondering on a very more near-term scale, if there's any data that would suggest that the present-day cruise control or advanced cruise control are adopted or learned any different? Is there any direct litigation coming from people blaming these systems as opposed to my brake didn't break or some kind of explosion in the airbag?
Well, there's certainly been instances where there's been litigation over, I think airbags was one of the big ones. I think we all know, the originally children under a certain weight, they were getting injured and unfortunately in some cases killed. So That was looked at, and of course, new standards were placed with weight, able to turn up the airbag on and off for the passenger, et cetera. But I think what we found was overwhelmingly, the system decided that, the benefits of the airbag certainly outweigh any sort of negative. Certainly, there was some, I'm sure, funds exchanged amongst, those that were involved, but the judicial system, I think, did a pretty good job of sorting out all the pieces and fixing it. And I see the same thing happening here. I mean, there's no doubt there's going to be problems with it. I mean, no doubt. There's going to be an autonomous car that runs a stoplight and T-bones somebody, right? I mean, it's going to happen. But I think if our system works the way it should, we'll look at the overall benefits, because every analysis out there says that 93% of the accidents that take place is human related or human error related. So if you can just cut that in half, I mean, think about arguments that it is going to be a safer system regardless of the faults.
Well, I would go back to what you said about cruise control. When you started, the first cruise control was just set it to a speed, which is great. That's a great convenience, except when the cars in front of you stopped and you run into the back of them. So we came up with adaptive cruise control. So now the cars in front of you slow down. Okay, so now the adaptive cruise control can slow down. There are drawbacks. Sometimes vehicles slow down or brake when they shouldn't. So you have those type of problems. But there's still more benefit to that because, it's a step forward than what we had in the past. And so now you can go more in stop and go traffic. Well, now if you add to this, say, a super cruise where you're actually able to steer the vehicle, now you can look away for a second, change your radio station, and know that the vehicle's going to stay in your lane. And it's not going to go into the next lane and hit another car. Or it will stop, those type of things. So those are the benefits you have. And for those momentary things you have to do where you look away from the road, it will take care of that. But as far as looking away for 20, 30, multiple seconds, minutes, it's just, there are still things with the sensors and the technologies that have to be improved before we get to that fully autonomous, where that it's going to safely, if it can't safely continue, it's going to take you someplace that is safe, whether it be the shoulder or whatever, right? You've got to have some fallback, because I don't know about any of you, but when you've had a fault in your car, have you ever had to warn you before the fault came? It just happened, right? So when you're in this autonomous mode and something breaks, what do you do then? So that's the key is, right? You don't know when that thing is going to fail, right? Whatever the component is. I mean, and you usually don't. In the past, you've always had your hands on the wheel, so it's been fine. So now you start getting into other concerns we have to deal with. What do you do when somebody's not driving the car?
Okay, we have a few.
So I have a question. Things will happen with ADAS. I mean, even though the probability of accidents is minimal. Do you envision to be able to intelligently use the diagnostic signals to give advance warning to the driver before a fault happens or before an accident happens? Because there's a lot of intelligence there. And I call it prognostics, that you can use the signal data and tell the driver, warn the driver that something's about to happen and take control of the car.
So that is a great question. So today we're doing that non-real time with a few OEMs, looking at the diagnostic trouble codes, looking at patterns, predicting failures. That's the use case that everybody has thought about. The real-time processing connection to the cloud, be able to do that. It's not there, but I think it's coming. It's coming. It's not there yet.
I think currently there is not many tier 1s that would love to have the PTCs being safety related. That's the problem in itself.
I agree completely with Kyle. It's, right now, our prognostics tends to be not real time. So if you were using it in something like that, it's a bit of a challenge, so we have to decide other systems around that to make sure that, you're right, because again, like I brought up the diet, when you have a diagnostic failure, the driver is not holding the steering, he's monitoring, but there's still time it takes for a human to engage, right? There's a physical time it takes for a person to move.
Okay. Okay, we actually have one more question here.
Hello. My question kind of relates back to the conversation about training the customer. You talked about the next generation, these younger kids being very adept at technology in general, which I completely agree with. My 2-year-old is phenomenal on our tablets. But the technology for autonomous cars is probably a better case for the very old, right? Those who are refused a driver's license and yet are not technically savvy, generally speaking. So my question is, who do you think is the target customer for this technology?
Certainly, you're right. The elder population is definitely a target. I think here in the U.S., by I believe 2050, there's estimated to be 100 million people over the age of 65. Currently, there's 50 million people. Personally, just kind of share an experience. I had to take my mother's keys away from her a couple weeks ago. That wasn't a very easy conversation, but it had to happen. That said, I don't believe that the older community is going to be the ones in the dealership buying the Cadillac with the ADAS and all the other functions. They're probably going to be shifted more toward the what we call mobility as a service. Maybe hailing an Uber that's driverless or something. That is where I see, or maybe an Apple car or a Google car. So I don't think they're going to need to know how to control it. They're going to probably be more on the mobility of a service side. I want to hail the car, have it come to my house, pick me up, and take me to wherever I need to be. That's really where the elderly communities will benefit. As far as learning the systems of I don't see them in the, like I said, in the dealerships purchasing that technology, so to speak. Now, they may. I'm sure the GM's probably done plenty of marketing on that aspect of it, but that would be my take on it. Now, the millennials are definitely the more targeted. I mean, they've just entered the largest segment in the United States of 75 million. They surpassed the baby boomers. They are a huge target because they don't look at driving the way some of the Generation X and baby boomers do. We looked at it as a freedom. Millennials look at it more as it's a task. I have to get from A to B. So I see them being the primary target for that.
Yeah, I guess I see it's going to be everybody. I don't think eventually when you get to completely self-driving, and we're talking many years out, but when you get there, if you're not going to be able to let people say, well, I don't want to use any of this system, and I'm a great driver, and I'm just going to drive because every 16-year-old boy will obviously shut up all the systems and drive by himself, and he'll raise havoc and hit everybody. So I think that when it happens, I think we're going to kind of morph into where everybody, it's going to be for everybody. The greatest benefit, though, will be for I guess whoever the poorest driver segment is, and it's it could be anybody, but I mean it'll be those of us at the table 25 years from now will be the old ones. So.
I think you will collect gadgets. Changing to another topic, if that's okay. So, we know that the supply chain within the automotive industry moves in several tiers. What do we believe about this for automotive, for autonomous drive. When I did my military service, my officer told me that you can have confidence in your soldier, but control is much better. So, how should we regard the suppliers? I mean, we have a Swedish saying that the rope on the rat or whatever bucket. I don't know. You have the same, I think, in the United States. Anyway, how do we handle this so that it won't be kicking down or to the heads?
Well, I guess I'm not too much into dealing with suppliers, but I mean, obviously it's a partnership, right? We have to deal with them and share the knowledge, vision of what we want to do, but use their expertise because they really do have the expertise in that particular area. So, and we can benefit by that. You know, they come to us with concepts and things that are very good, and you know, protect that, nurture that relationship, and utilize them for long periods of time. You know, continued feedback like others have done, Google and all these other companies, GM. You know, here are the areas where we need you to concentrate because of things that are going on. And I think that's coming along because so many of the suppliers are into the autonomous. Everybody seems to be in automated driving at this point. And I don't know how many years it is, like Jeff had said, before we get to the fully autonomous, but it's a number of years, but it's going to be a continuous improvement, like Kyle said and everyone else. It's going to work and continually refine these sensors and technologies and what we need to do, whether it be through a cloud, which brings up a whole bunch of other litigation because there's privacy and whether you can get data off someone's car or anything else. But at the end of the day, is it good for everyone? And yes, if everybody has the automated car, great. Because it's the one guy who doesn't, who's cutting you off, that's making all the accidents for everybody else, because the automated car can only react so fast.
I think from a tier 1 perspective, I bring a little bit different viewpoint to most of the tier 1s, simply because I come from a services organization inside of a company that's traditionally sold hardware. But the sourcing patterns for the OEMs are definitely changing. The OEMs certainly want to be in control of their destiny and own their algorithms and own their cloud infrastructure, even if it's using AWS or Azure or whatever. They want to own their instance. Right. So from a services perspective, the industry is changing. We are okay with providing those services and letting the OEM own them, but we try to specialize in certain areas. As I mentioned earlier, it's a unique space. It's a unique time in automotive where nobody really understands the full